dear children. Today we shall discuss Standard 10 Kerala English Reader. The first unit is Glimpses of Green. That means a look into the green, a look into the nature. And the first lesson is a story. The name of the story is Adventures in a Banyan Tree, written by Ruskin Bond.
Ruskin Bond is a very popular name. Is he an Indian or a European? His stories and novels have Indian background. Most of his works are influenced by life in the hill stations at the foothills of Himalayas, where he spent his childhood. He was born in 1934. His parents were British. They were working in India. His mother married an Indian when he was 8. He then lived with his father, but after 2 years, his father passed away. Later, he was raised by his own mother and stepfather, who lived in Dehradun. Many of his writers are for the children. On writing for the children, he said, "I had a pretty lonely childhood, and it helps me to understand the children better." His works are always influenced by the miracles of nature. Hence, he is often called Indian William Wordsworth.
This is a story of a boy who lives with his grandfather. The boy and his grandfather live at the foothills of Himalaya. He says that the house and grounds were grandfather's domain. What do you mean by domain? Domain means an area under one's control. That means the house and grounds, the premises, were under the control of grandfather. But there was a banyan tree, and the boy says that banyan tree was under his control. He humorously says that grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb that banyan tree. So this magnificent or beautiful banyan tree was under his control, and he thoroughly enjoys nature. Days passed. One day, he happened to see a little squirrel which is grey in color. At first, it hesitated to come to him and to take food from his hands. But as he started giving him some pieces of cakes and biscuits, the little squirrel became friendlier and familiar enough to take food from his hands, and it started delving into his pockets. And the spring season came. During the spring season, this banyan tree was full of figs. Figs means attipayam. Full of figs and birds like red-bottomed bulbul, parrots, crows, all such birds. They were squabbling with each other. And perhaps this banyan tree was the noisiest place in that area. One day, he built a platform halfway up the tree. He thought that he could sit there when it was not so hot. He wished to spend his afternoons in that tree because he loved nature, and he was trying to explore nature. So he took some cushions and pillows and some storybooks from the house and he placed it there. And he started reading. He read stories of Huckleberry Finn, Treasure Island, then Mowgli stories, etc. and all such stories. A mixed up reading. He could see his grandmother working there, washing clothes or quarreling with the fruit seller and all such things. Usually, nothing exciting happened during these days. But one particular afternoon, he had enough excitement which he could not forget throughout that summer. What was that most exciting thing happened then? That was a battle between two champions, the cobra and the mongoose. We will see the battle in the next class.
Now let us read the lesson until we discussed. There will be explanations of the new words.
Adventures in a Banyan Tree. Though the house and grounds of our home in India were grandfather's domain, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at the age of 65 could no longer climb it. Grandmother used to tease him about this and would speak of a certain Countess of Desmond, an English woman who lived to the age of 117 and would have lived longer if she hadn't fallen while climbing an apple tree. The spreading branches of the banyan tree, which curved to the ground and took root again, forming a maze of arches, gave me endless pleasure. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as the town of Dera, nestling in a valley at the foot of the Himalayas. Here in the first paragraph, the boy introduces his grandfather and he says about the banyan tree which was under his control. And he enjoys the beauty of banyan tree. My first friend and familiar was a small grey squirrel. Arching his back and sniffing into the air, he seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy. But when he found that I did not arm myself with a catapult or air gun, he became friendlier. And when I started leaving him pieces of cake and biscuit, he grew bolder and finally became familiar enough to take food from my hands. Before long, he was delving into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. He was a very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives probably thought him headstrong and foolish for trusting a human. In this paragraph, he says about his friendship with a squirrel. In the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. The red-bottomed bulbul, cheerful and greedy, gossiping rosy pastures, and parrots and crows squabbling with each other all the time. During the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place on the road. Here the boy watches nature closely and says about spring season, when the banyan tree is full of birds and figs. Halfway up the tree, I had built a small platform on which I would often spend afternoons when it wasn't too hot. I could read there, propping myself up against the bole of the tree with cushions taken from the drawing room. Treasure Island, Huckleberry Finn, the Mowgli stories, and the novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs and Lucia Max Alcott made up my bag of very mixed reading. Now we could see the small platform which he had built on the tree and the settings there because he wanted to explore or enjoy nature. When I did not feel like reading, I could look down through the banyan leaves and the world below at grandmother hanging up or taking down the washing, at the cook quarreling with the fruit vendor, or at grandfather grumbling at the hardy Indian marigolds, which insisted on springing up all over his very English garden. Usually, nothing very exciting happened while I was in the banyan tree, but on one particular afternoon, I had enough excitement to last me through the summer. That was a time I saw a mongoose and a cobra fight to death in the garden while I sat directly above them in the banyan tree.
Please try to answer these questions. If you watch the video once again, you can answer them easily.
Hope you enjoyed the class. We shall meet in the next video. Thank you.